Hello everyone, Jorge here with Avalos Cloud Native and Nexus Technologies, Nexus for linking, Nexus for connecting. And today's video is about how to deploy a pod or a web server to the AWS EKS service. But before we do that, this video is gonna be a little bit of everything. So you can spot issues and know how to resolve them when problems or whenever you have to make a change, okay? So let's start by checking the console, okay? So the first thing you gotta check is the EC2. Just type EC2 in here. And in here, you will find a tab or a button where you can actually find the load balancers. So at the moment, let's see how many load balancers I have here. I don't have any load balancer at the moment. Actually, I have one in here, which is running. Wow, okay. I'm gonna type in here and I'm gonna try to see what is happening in that load balancer. Just gonna type that in there. Nothing is happening. It says no secure. Okay. So what about if I say HTTPS? Okay. Nothing is happening. Okay. So what about if I say Avalos Cloud Native.ca? That's my own domain that I bought here with AWS. Nothing is happening either. What about if I type HTTPS? Nothing is happening. All right, great. So it looks like we have a load balancer, which is actually mapping 443 to port 80, okay, in a container. All right. So EC2, again, how do you check for load balancers? You go to EC2 and click load balancers, okay? Once you do that, you can do another check. It's a few checks where you can start mapping how AWS or the public cloud works for the load balancer section. So you're gonna copy this, right, from the EC2 load balancer, and then just copy this address. And then what will you do? You're gonna type here VPCs or the virtual private clouds. It's a networking section for AWS. So once you go in there, just find the security groups, okay? And in here, you will find that, so I'm just gonna paste it here on the top. You see 837-4DC, right? So if I come back here you have it, 837-4DC. So this one will show up in here too. So you found this, it's basically an IP address. You found this on the EC2 load balancer section. You will also find it here. It is created automatically every time you create a pod. So once you click in here, you can actually create inbound rules for connectivity. Okay, so right now we have 443 and we have port 80. I'm gonna try to delete that here manually. Okay, I'm gonna say delete everything. I'm gonna save this. Then I'm gonna go to EC2 again. So the way that I'm doing is for you to open your mind for troubleshooting and to get familiar with the console. Okay, I'm gonna try to delete these two again and see what happens. Delete load balancer. Right, looks like it's going to. So if the pod is still running, right, a container, it may show up here again. So be careful with that because you may be thinking like, what's going on here? I deleted and it's showing up again. So now we're gonna move into the next stage. I'm gonna show you a few other tricks. Before we get that, before we get there, I'm gonna go to Route 53, which is another service. So we already checked the VPC service, we checked the EC2 service, and we're checking Route 53 service now. In Route 53, I have basically a domain that I bought here with AWS. Once you buy a domain with AWS, they will automatically list this in here, these records. So you go to host zone, you can actually create a new host zone, but because I bought the domain here, it does it itself. I didn't have to do nothing. And it will manage the service for you for distributing your DNS out there on the internet. Okay. So at the moment, I don't have any A record. Okay, there is a few different records. You can create a record in here, and I don't have an A record at the moment. Okay, just keep that in mind because we're gonna create one in the future. Okay, I'm gonna go into domains. So register domains, which is the same one that I just listed here. I have only one domain here. You can actually buy a domain over here too if you want to. So once you buy a domain, it will do its own process and it will make the domain available for you. Once it does that, it will create a song for you. You don't have to do anything. Okay. Um, if you want to ever list this domain to a pub or a container, you will have to create one A record. Just keep that in mind. We're gonna create that in the future. Okay. So okay, so you got familiar with VPCs, you got familiar with the VPCs and the security group, right? You got familiar with the Route 53 and the host zones and the A records. You got familiar how to check for the load balancers, how to check the load balancers IP address, and then go into the security group on the VPCs and see it there too as well. And also you should get familiar with the ECM, which is another service for Amazon Certificate Manager, where you can buy certificates so you can use SSL encryption for your website. So I have one in here and I map that certificate to Avalo Cloud Native. Again, it does all his things. If you're doing everything between inside Amazon, it becomes so easy. It's just like when you're working on Microsoft too as well. Okay. So again, you got familiar with ACM, which is for the certificate manager, the VPCs, right? Or the virtual private clouds, the networking. You got familiar with Route 53 for the DNS services, buy, sell domains, create host zones, create A records. You got familiar with the EC2s and how to check for the load balancers, and that's all good in there. Okay, good enough. So now I'm just gonna pause this for a second so we can keep going. Okay, give me 1 second here. Thank you. All right, we're gonna keep going. Just coffee time. What's the final goal for you to deploy web service and maybe offer these services and for a job or for anything you may think of? So I'm gonna show you something else in here. I'm going to show you a web page that I made with ChatGPT. So basically, I started typing on ChatGPT, please make a website that looks like cyberpunk theme with these colors and these links that I provided with these specific scripts. Like, hey, this is my business. This is what I'm trying to do, and I'm gonna show you that. Okay, so I saved that code, HTML code, in a text file, and then I changed the extension to be HTML, and this is what I get. So I'm gonna try to publish this page that I made with ChatGPT, right? And it will say meet Jorge. It will take me to my link, my LinkedIn page, my page for Avalos Cloud Native, right? We'll see it here. Jorge here. You can contact me on WhatsApp if you want to get access to me. You can see my YouTube playlist. So basically, look how cool it looks, and I didn't have to do anything. This is basically ChatGPT. And if you want to sign up and learn how to do this and much more for the multi-cloud stuff that I'm trying to do between all the public cloud providers and on-premise, check my website here. So today we're gonna try to deploy this website. And again, I didn't do this. I'm not a web page, a front-end person, okay? I mean, why? If ChatGPT AI is there, and you can do a lot more than this, to be honest. It looks so cool. So let's keep going. So again, ChatGPT provided the code. I saved that with .html, and I put it on my desktop, okay? If I want to see the code, it's right here on my desktop. I can right-click and say edit in Notepad, and you can see the full code in here, okay? All right, so let's keep going. I'm gonna have to close one of these tabs so we don't get confused. And okay, this machine that you see right here on the screen, this computer is home. I have it hosted over here, right? In my private server. And in here, I have to install 3 different tools: the QCTL, the AWS CTL tools, CLI tools, and the EKS CTL tools. So once you get installed those tools, you have access to the public cloud AWS cluster that I have there for Kubernetes, right? Or the Elastic Kubernetes service. There is a video for that too. Feel free to check it out. And if you're not in my community, well, you could be learning all this with me and do all the multi-cloud stuff on blockchain and AI that we have been working on for quite some time now. So I'm going to, we're gonna run a few commands so you can start getting used to the interface or how you can interact with the EKS service. So I have a text file over here. Give me 1 second. All right, so here's a text file. The first time we're gonna run, let's see how many pods or containers we have in this cluster that I've been working on, okay? So I'm gonna run the command qctl get pods. All right, so it looks like we have a few pods going on in here, okay? So these are the names, and you can see if they're running, they're terminated, but also there is something really important in here. You see how we have namespace? So the queue systems are the default ones that the cluster creates for you and the services that you choose to use. But you can have any custom namespace, okay, to isolate. It's like a little bit of networking kinda. You're isolating stuff from maybe for traffic. So just think about some segmentation. So I could just run a command and say delete all the pods on the default namespace, or delete all the services on the default namespace, right? So the first command. So I have a few pods running in here. Okay, you can see that. Now let's do show me only the pods that are running on the default namespace. Okay, now it's gonna show me these pods in here. But as you can see, it's only showing the ones on the top, right? It didn't list all the other ones. So what happening is that when I deploy this pod or this container, I say, please do 3. It's called replicas, okay? That's why it shows 3. But basically, it is the same container. It's just like you have 3 just for redundancy or for you to load balance traffic, okay? So the namespace is really important. Don't forget about that. Let's run another one here. So if you want to basically downscale or scale the pods, you can create more pods for the same deployment. So that's another thing. So if you want to delete one pod, it will delete it, but the other ones will take over. But if you want to basically delete the whole deployment, the whole system, those 3 pods, you have to delete it at the deployment level. Okay? If you try to do it at the pod level, it's not gonna work. You may not delete everything at once. So I'm gonna try to delete. I know that the name for this, actually let's do this. Let's run get deployment. Get deployment. As you can see, so if I'm talking about deployments, this deployment, Avalov, Cloud Native, Dash deployment have 3. Those are the 3 machines that you listed in here, right? So what about if I want to increase the number of deployments? Well, what you could do, I'm gonna copy this command over here. I'm gonna say I want to scale this to 4 now instead of 3. You can do that. Let me just delete this for a second here. You can have 4, 5, 10, 20. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna paste that in there, and then you're gonna replace the deployment name. Okay. I'm gonna say Avalov Cloud Native. Avalov Cloud Native, and then dash deployment. Okay. I want to say I want to have maybe 5. Okay. Now I'm scaling my deployment, right? So again, you can delete the whole deployment. Deployment means deployments at the top, and then you got pods inside that deployment, right? And then if you try to delete the whole deployment, all the pods will be gone. But if you want to deploy one pod, the other ones are still alive. So just in case you're working, you're trying to troubleshoot something, don't fall into it. Just try to delete everything at the deployment level, okay? Right, so what else do we got here? What about if I want to delete all this deployment? Let's do it. So I'm gonna copy this, okay? I'm gonna deploy, I'm going to delete the whole deployment for Avalos Cloud Native, okay? There you go. Now I'm gonna see if the deployment is there. Get deployment. Now we see that Avalos Cloud Native deployment is not there. So what about if we try to delete all the other ones? Let's delete all of them. I'm gonna copy this. Okay, I'm gonna try to delete this one too. Oh, qctl delete deployment. All right, so it looks like we have deleted all the deployments. Let's see, should have 0. Now we have none. Okay, that's good. Now if I say qctl get pods, oh, there is none. But if I run the one that will show me all the namespaces, right, I should see the default ones from the system. See, now I have only the qctl, the Q system ones. The default ones are gone. Okay, so we keep those because those ones are important. So what about if I want to see all the services? Services are basically the networking section of Kubernetes. Okay, so by default, sometimes when you're trying to deploy a new container like the nginx, right, for web servers, you're deploying a load balancer in there too, but a reverse proxy too, which there is videos for that. We'll show you that after, okay? So let's see if we have any services in here. So it looks like we have a few services, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can run the command to delete the services, right? So I guess it's a uctl delete service, and I can say delete. There you go. I can do the same thing for this. Let's run the same command, delete service, and then we can delete this one too. All right. So what about if we try to get a service again? Get services. It's only one. If we try to get all deployments or pods, deployments, there's none. We try to get pods, there's no pods. So now let's go back to Amazon Web Services and let's make sure that nothing is in there. Okay. So let's go to VPCs first. And we're gonna go to security groups. Okay, as you can see, 37 is gone. It was there before, now it's gone. We don't have it anymore. It's actually moved over here, 37. Okay, what about if I try to go to EC2? Remember, because those pods were alive, so they're doing their thing, and maybe even if I delete it from here, it may try to push it. No, it's gone here. There is no load balancers right now. If we go to Route 53, nothing is going to be there either. All right, so looks like we're getting ahead now. So now the question is, how many files do we need to deploy this web server? So I'm going to do print working directory in here, Linux command in here, and I created this directory, just a folder, okay? And in this folder, I'm going to list what I have inside here. As you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files, okay? So how do you deploy this? First of all, you need 5 files. 2 of them are going to have the extension for YAML files, okay? 1, 2. The YAML files are the ones that will interact with the actual EKS service from Amazon, okay? The Docker file is the one that's going to help you to build a Docker container for you to actually push the container after to the Amazon ECR service, or the Elastic Container Registry, just like Docker Hub, but there is an Amazon version too, okay? You're going to need the index file, which is the code that I just showed you from my website here that I built with ChatGPT. This one right here, that's basically where you're going to paste that code in there, okay? And this file, which is basically for the load balancer to work, okay? So Amazon have its own version of load balancer, but it needs to interact with the containers. Well, the container that I'm deploying is going to use its own container called its own reverse proxy or load balancer called NGINX. It's really famous. Even Netflix uses this. So I have a video in my dojo where we explain you how it works and what you need to know about it. So because I'm starting over, I'm going to show you how to actually delete all those files. So I have this command ready here. I'm going to use this command. It's a Ubuntu command or Linux command to remove all these files, okay? Because we're going to start over, right? So I'm going to run the ls again. You can see all those files in there. Now I'm going to paste that command in here. Because you're learning Linux in here. You're learning cloud native, which is Kubernetes. You're learning public cloud, which is AWS. You're learning load balancers in here. You're learning how to basically get familiar with the console and much more. So let's do ls again. Well, it looks like I didn't do it. Let's remove the files again. Force it. Okay, so we are actually, because the names are different. So what I need to do is just to fix the naming. Okay, so we can delete those files. Right, Docker file index. Right, ls. Now all of them are gone except the l remove ng ls. Now all the files are gone. Great. So what will be next now? The next part will be to actually try to regenerate those 5 files, okay, to build the container. So I'm basically, I started backwards. I show you how to check all the pieces around, how to delete them, how to start fresh, and how to redeploy after, okay? So I think that's the best way to learn, by seeing, by doing cloud native, public cloud, Kubernetes, which is the underlayer capability for a lot of systems out there for AI, blockchain, and much more, how to create Docker containers and all that. And we provide you blueprints for you to follow along, okay? So let's try to build all the files that we need. 5 different files. They all need to be in the same directory under Avalon Cloud Native folder, okay? So let's stop here for a second, and I'm gonna get back to you in a second here. So actually, I just came out with the idea to show you how you don't need to know too much programming these days, and how web developers or front-end people, eventually they will be gone, because now you have Gen AI doing stuff for you. We have ChatGPT, and of course, some stuff will be need to be so custom, but you can have the concepts, and pretty much in the future, AI training AI, and we're gonna be like super like super technological in the future, right? AI is supposed to be smarter than you and me in 5 years. So that's why a lot of positions, a lot of jobs will be gone. So let's start using ChatGPT. Why not? To build all these files. So if you go to, let's find ChatGPT over here. Okay, I have a brand new console over here. So let's say, please, actually, let's create the first file, okay, which is the non index file, okay, HTML. So the index file is the one that will have the code for the website, which I have it already here because I like the theme, right? So I'm gonna say edit. I'm gonna copy all this, Control A, Control C. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the terminal. I'm gonna paste that in here. Then I'm gonna say Control O, Enter, Control X. Good. Okay, I have the first file now there. You see it now here. So the second file that I need, we're gonna create it here. So we need a Docker file, two YAML files, and the nginx file, okay? Config file. So let's say, please, you can read in here. Let me create the two files for, okay? I'm talking about when I say two files, I'm gonna put in here EKS YAML files, okay? These two files have nothing to do with the Docker build that you will do. You can do this one first. They could be in the path, on the Avalos Cloud Native path first or after. It doesn't matter, okay? Please let me create two files for my Ampal web server. Okay, good. We have to provide details. So the web server will use for 80, and there is also the elastic load balancer from AWS that will forward the traffic from 443 to 480 because we will use a certificate in the future. Okay? The file names, you need two file names for the EKS, deployment and service. So again, these two files had nothing to do with the Docker build. Okay, so they could be before or after in the path that we're working on, okay? The file names are, I'm gonna call it Avalov Cloud Native dash deployment, and Avalov Cloud Native dash service. Down files, Avalov Cloud, fixing here, deployment, Avalov Cloud Native. Okay, we're good in there. Also, we need to provide in this file, we need to be really specific about the ports, okay? Because we already told port 80, it will do 16. But we also need to create an image after, okay? An image that would basically is a Docker container that we're gonna build. And it's gonna pull out this image from Amazon, the Amazon ECR service, or the Elastic Container Registry. We're gonna have a repository over there, which we're gonna build in here in a second, okay? So, and then we can modify these files after. I also need the ngx config file with the required specs. Delete the default ngx page for this to use the index that HTML file that I have. Okay. What else do I need to tell this? I also need the Docker file to build the container. Right. So pretty much we are telling pretty much everything what to do. So let's see what we get from here. So you may ask, how much is this gonna cost you? Well, doing the numbers, because I basically created a cluster, EKS cluster, and I'm renting every load balancer IP, public IP is like $16. Okay. And then you have two workers or two nodes to host all the containers or all the pods. And then you have two other computers for the cluster. So two computers or two EC2 machines for the cluster, two for the pods, and then you're gonna be spending like $100 a month or $120 a month. But in those two pods, since you have like, I put like 8 GB of RAM, something like a little bit like not too bad. You can have many websites, many. You can have even like, I would say up to 100 if you want to. I mean, if it's only one page, you can have 100 pages, no problem. So it looks like we have a Docker file, we have the ng configuration, and we have the YAML files. Okay. I'm gonna see, I want this to change the names for the deployment. And I see that it didn't actually, it doesn't say here to expose the the, the port. Docker, or say Docker file, did not expose port 80. There you go. So let's create this file. So let's go to the terminal. We're gonna say nano docker file. We're gonna paste that code in here. And then, okay, it's gonna pull this image. Then it's gonna try to remove the file page. Okay. Actually, I think that path, and then it's gonna copy my page. But I want to run the service. Can you add the ngx restart ngx or start ngx service? So we don't have to have any problems. Okay, so it's putting the command now on the deployment. All right. So we're good in here. So what will happen in here? We can save this Control O, Enter, Control X. Now if I do ls, I have two files in now. Okay, Docker and index. What about the ngx? Let's look for that file. This one right here, the configuration file. So we're gonna create this one, okay? So nano, okay. And it wants me to paste this code. Let's see if we see anything weird in here or anything like that. It's gonna listen on port 80. This is gonna be the default site. That's good. Okay. I'm a little bit concerned about deleting this one because that's not the default page. But we're gonna get there in a second. So let's paste it in here. And we're gonna say Control O, Enter, Control X, ls. We have now three files in here. So what is the file name for the default page of the ngx? And I would love to delete that file in the Docker file build. Okay, it's using the same one. It should be good. All right, so what else we need to do now? We need to create now the YAML files. So the first one here is a deployment. You can see here deployment. So let's create a deployment one. So we're gonna say nano Avalov Cloud Native, and then we're gonna say deployment. That yeah. Okay. Avalov Cloud Native deployment. Yeah. I'm gonna paste that code in there, and we see here that it will reboot, reload the service. And now we're gonna say Control O, Enter, Control X. Now ls. Now we have 4 different files. Now we need to create the last one. Nano Avalov Cloud Native service .jam. Okay, and let's look for that code. It's this one right here. It says service in here, you see, and it says load balancer. Okay, so let's paste that code in there. I'm gonna say Control O, write that, Control X. Okay, now I'm going to show you the deployment file again. So it looks like in here there is no specification of where to pull this image from. It doesn't say anything, because remember, it's the YAML files are the ones that talk to the Amazon services and say please use this. Okay, but right now we don't have any. If I go in here ls, we have 5 different files, and if I type in here Docker images, yeah, there is a few in here, right? Which I'm gonna try to delete. These ones are locally here, but I'm gonna delete the one from Amazon. So now you're gonna get familiar with the ECR service or the Elastic Container Registry. It's like Docker Hub, but Amazon have its own version. So I have a repository here. You just create. You can create as many repositories you want. Okay, doesn't need to be too fancy, to be honest. Just create a repository, assign a name, and you can choose how you want to do the encryption. Okay, or if you want to be scanning, or you can scan for vulnerabilities and stuff like that. All right, so let's go to repositories. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna have one image in here, only one. I'm gonna delete this one from here. Okay. Now I have no images in there. Okay. How the console, how this local computer here push the image to the ECR Elastic Container Registry Service, right? It's like the repository. Where first of all, you need to authenticate. Okay. How do you authenticate from here? Well, this is basically when you're setting up the AWS CLI tools, you have to enter some credentials. It's gonna use those credentials. Okay. But also you need to enter like a token. Okay. How do you get that token? Well, you're gonna come to the Amazon ECR first, right? You're gonna come into your repositories, click in your repository, and now you will have a bunch of commands in here. And then with this code in here, just copy this, and then you're gonna enter that in here. And then it's gonna save that token in here locally. You see, login succeed here, right? So what you need to do now is to build the container. Okay. So let's try to build the container first. So I'm gonna call this container. It is a command. Okay. Actually, let's remove the existing containers first. So let's do Docker images, and I have this one here, the 72 something. And then I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna do here. There you go. I'm gonna run the same command again. Docker images. There is nothing here now. But now I want to build the container. So now that we have no containers, we have no repositories, everything is gone. Now in the same path what I've been working on, but what basically is going to do, these files in here, it's gonna wrap up the index file, the ngx, the Docker file into the Docker container that we're building. It's not gonna use these two files, the jump files. It's not gonna use that. So I'm gonna paste that command in there. And if you have any question, you can always come over here and it tells you how to build a container. Okay. So in this case, it's using an example and it's gonna call it Avalo Cloud Native Web Server. Okay. So I can come over here and paste that in there. You need to have this dot at the end. Otherwise, it will not build the container. If there is any errors in somewhere in those files, it will tell you. It will not build the container. So let's see what happens. It looks like everything went blue. Everything was good. No problem. Now I'm going to say Docker images. Wow, I have one new repository there, a new Docker image. Great. Okay. How do we push that in there? Well, first of all, you need to tag it. So you copy this command and then you tag it in here like that. Boom. Oh, it's an error over here. Something happened. It said error response from the not such an image out of Cloud Native web server. Okay, so why is an error there? So I'm just gonna delete the latest over here because I call it Avalo Cloud Native web server. It didn't like that. 1 second. Yeah, so it looks like it was not taking the tagging. So I run this command docker tag Avalo Cloud Native web server. The same name that you see here, Docker images. I just copy and pasted that and it works. So now we have tagged that, it's tagged. So now I'm gonna copy the Docker push from here, okay? And you need to understand that this one here is basically the container or the image that you created, while this over here is basically the repository in Amazon where you will be pushing this. The same one that you see here, Avalo Cloud Native Web Server. That's the name of the repository. Okay, so in case you were asking which one is which one. So let's copy this in here. Actually, we're gonna copy the full command. Copy the push, delete this, and we should be good. Now it's pushing that. Great. Now I'm going to refresh this in here, and now it should show up in here, okay? There it is, right? October 29, 2024, 2:48. You see the time over here, 2:48. Right now we have an image. So now I'm gonna copy this image and I'm gonna go to the deployment file, okay? And I need to modify that. So let's tell ChatGPT, please add the image to the deployment file. There you go. And I'm gonna modify that now. Nano. I'm just going to delete all these. Okay. So you see how easy it is, and this is still ChatGPT is there, but you still gotta do. We did custom networking for the EKS. We did some security groups. We did a bunch of stuff manually, and in the future, what we do, we automate all this. So we use Terraform or any infrastructure as code tool like Puppets, Ansible, and then we get into the DevOps stuff. So you see now it's gonna pull that image, and now we can actually try to build the services. Control O, enter, Control X. ls, we have the 5 different files, Docker image. We have only one. We push that to the actual AWS repository, okay? And now for you, it's easy. You automate this, we give it to you, and now you can deploy thousands of web servers just like that. And then we're gonna have these containers, the same containers, basically with redundancy or failover to make the application resilient. So if Amazon goes down, Google platform would take over or Azure would take over. And because we're gonna cluster all the Kubernetes services from each public cloud and also on-premise. So if all the public clouds go down one day, the on-premise will take over. Now imagine that the on-premise is using IPv6 and we use something called blockchain. And the blockchain, everything is peer-to-peer. Now we have this website available through the blockchain. That will be amazing. So that's down the road, and then we're going to implement AI too to improve and detect anomalies and to make it better. And that's the whole point. We have a lot of different projects on the go, so feel free to come and work with us. All right, so let's keep going now. Now we have an image. We push it there. We have the files. What is next? Well, I'll tell you what's next. We need to actually apply those files. So let's apply the files, the YAML files, to the EKS service. So I'm gonna copy this, copy, okay. I'm gonna go to my EKS service. I'm gonna apply the file. It says created, great. And now I'm gonna apply the service file. Okay. Oh, something went wrong. Oh, there's a misspelling over here. Avalo Cloud Native Service file. Okay. Created. All right. So what's next? So what about if I say, remember we didn't have pods, we deleted everything. So now let's say qctl get pods. Now it did a replica of 3. Why? Because probably we had number 3 over here. Okay. For 80, it pulled out this image from the AWS repository. So it restarted the service, okay, and much more. So what else can we check here? What about if we check the deployment? Qctl get deployment. Now we see it there. There's 3. You can scale this to 5, to 6, to 8. I already show you how to do that. Okay, what about qctl get service? Okay. Wow, now we have one service called Cloud Native. It's a load balancer. Okay. So what about if I copy this IP here for a second? Let's copy this IP. Okay, copy. Now I'm gonna paste that over here and see what happened. Nothing is happening. It didn't like that. Okay. I'm gonna paste that on Firefox just in case. Now there you go. It's showing up in here. That's nice. That's good. Now this website is publicly available in the internet, but I haven't used my custom domain yet, which it will be next. Okay. So I'm gonna refresh Firefox, Chrome in here and see if it works this time. Maybe because it's cached or something, it doesn't like it. But that's okay. Firefox at least is pulling out that website. It's send links. So awesome. And actually, why don't we play this video? Oh, it's not doing it for some reason. Okay. Play here. All right. So let's just stop this for a second here. Now let's go next. What was next in here? So we did all these steps. Now let's go back to Amazon. Let's see what happens on the EC2. Let's go to EC2. Now we have one load balancer in there. And this load balancer actually is 873. the same one we have here, 873. You see it. So we click in here, and now you can add, you can see the port 32631, map to 80, right? Same port. Great. Let me just move this over here. You can add new ports if you want to, which we're gonna do once we implement the SSL certificate. Okay. So if I go to VPCs now, if I go to VPCs, I'm gonna look for the same load balancer IP into the security groups. So what is 873 right here? We have it here in the worker. Okay. You can click in here, and only port 80 is the one listed. Okay. So what about if we go to Route 53? Let's go to Route 53. I have my domain over here, and there is no A records because I haven't created. Okay. So what about if I try to map this to the A record? So if I type Avalos Cloud Native, nothing is happening. I'm just gonna do port 80, HTTP. Nothing is happening. So let's try to get that and see if it works. So let's create one A record for the Avalos Cloud Native, create record. And we're gonna say use the root domain, okay, no problem. Leave this by default, but you're gonna create one alias. And you're gonna route traffic to the load balancer, okay? The region, you need to know where is your region for your pod or your EKS service. For myself, I'm using Virginia, US East 1. Make sure you put the right one in here. And I'm gonna paste in here the load balancer. But maybe it should show up here. I'm gonna paste it here for now. And I'm gonna leave it to simple routing. I'm gonna say create record. Okay. So it may not work right away, but I'm gonna click here again. I'm gonna say edit record. And sometimes it may auto-populate here. You can see here 873. It added dual stack at 8. So I'm gonna just click in there. I'm gonna say save. Now I'm gonna try to refresh the page for Avalo Cloud Native. That may take a while, and I'm gonna leave it the way it is for now. Okay, because now it needs to basically, it takes some time to basically distribute this new DNS in the internet, on the internet. Okay. But so far we have access to the web page using the domain. Sorry, the public IP. So I'm gonna stop this video here because the next video is going to be about how do we integrate the SSL service. All right. So thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna put all these commands in the video so you can follow along. And then if you feel like you want to be learning and stuff like that, feel free to reach out to me, the DevSecOps Dojo, with me, direct access basically, on call. I also have work to do, but I'm there for my people, and that's part of the plan. We help you how to be an entrepreneur, how to break your mind, how to push the limits, and also we have AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, and cloud native technologies. It's not just me. We have a community, and that's what we do. We try to teach, we try to innovate, we try to be on top of technology. We know it's hard sometimes, but we have been doing this for years. So we know how you can actually get there. You don't need to go to school for 5-10 years to be able to get a job and make good money. And also you're learning the top latest technology. So there is no failing here. All right. Thank you very much. And I'll see you later. Oh, actually, I'm gonna show you that how Avalo Cloud Native now is showing up here with port 80. So you can see the domain now is routable on the internet. It took like maybe 2 minutes. All right, thank you.